Greetings runners! In this video, myself and Nick are going to be taking a close look at the Nike Air Zoom Tempo Next Percent versus one of our all-time favourites, the Nike Pegasus Turbo. Let's see how they compare.
So first we'll have a quick look at the key stats of the shoe, starting with the price. The Zoom Tempo is going to cost you $169.95, whereas the Peg Turbo 2 is $159.95. That is $200 for this one and $180 for this one. Although obviously if Nike discontinues this, you might be able to find it in sales and stuff like that anyway. The drop is 10mm on the Zoom Tempo and 8 on the Pegasus Turbo 2. On the stack, it's worth noting that the Zoom Tempo has an illegally high stack for road races. It's over that 40mm limit. It's purely designed to be a training shoe. I don't know how much this will bother amateur runners, but yeah, it's not really meant to be used for road races. The stack is too high by the new standards. The weight, this is considerably heavier. This is 277 grams for my UK size 9, whereas the Peg Turbo 2 is 228 grams for my size 9. So that's 9.8 ounces versus 8 ounces dead. That's a big jump, and it's not really hard to see how that's happened given the load of extra material that's on this. Right, let's dive into the design of the shoe, starting with the Tempo, because there's a whole lot going on with this shoe. The upper's reasonably easy though. It's a Flyknit upper. Which you might have come across before in Nike shoes. It's reasonably comfortable, slightly sock-like feel, quite tight around the forefoot at the start. It gives a little over time, so I still kind of suggest going true to size in this shoe, but you might want to go half a size up. Now the midsole, there's a lot more going on. That's React foam at the heel here, which is kind of designed to make the shoe more durable. It's kind of slightly less soft than the Zoom X foam, which is found here, which is Nike's kind of top foam. It's the stuff used in the Alphafly and the Vaporfly. It's very soft, springy and lightweight. And that kind of leads, combined with a nylon, carbon composite plate, I think it starts around here, it's not carbon basically, and kind of starts here and leads through the Zoom X over the Air Zoom pods, which are, like in the Alphafly, are designed to give a bit more kind of pop to your forefoot. And they're a bit firm, a bit more responsive than just the foam alone. So you kind of get all of that going on in the midsole. And then at the bottom you have a load of rubber. It's a bit like the stuff on the Alphafly. It's not the same material and there's a bit more of it, so it should be more durable. Actually, I think this should hold up quite well, this outside. It grips pretty well as well. It obviously has added a bit of weight to the shoe, but it's a good durable option for your training. Now, this is Peg Turbo 2, this is. Has got a pretty standard mesh upper job here. It's different to the one on the Peg Turbo 1, which was kind of slightly more voluminous, had the go faster stripe. It was a bit more cushy, a bit more training-y. This is lighter, more stripped back. I think it makes the shoe feel a bit faster. The midsole of the shoe is also a combination of Zoom X and React foam. You get Zoom X on the top and React on the bottom. So again, the idea of that is the React take the brunt and kind of make it more durable, but you get the feel of the Zoom X on the top, that kind of softer, bouncier feel. On the outsole, it's pretty standard rubber outsole. There's a bit of exposed foam there, but it's pretty good. I've used Peg Turbo 1 and then this one, which I think are the same outsole, and this shoe for a lot of miles, and I've really seen no sign of wear on this outsole. Really, they're impressively durable, I think, and I've never really had a problem with grip using it on wet towpaths, light trails. Yeah, I think that outsole has always served me very well on a variety of surfaces. And obviously, the last thing to say is this has no kind of plate at all. Nylon, carbon composite, carbon, it's just foam. On the fit, both of these shoes were true to size for me. Like I say, the Zoom Tempo Next Percent had a little bit slightly tighter around the forefoot, but no problems there. I would go true to size for both. The Flyknit does give a little bit over time, and both were quite comfortable on the upper front.
For me, the fit for both shoes is actually very similar. I don't think I've ever had a fit in a shoe that's as good as what I get from the Peg Turbo, which is probably why I've used it for so many different runs and races over time. Having said that, the original Peg Turbo I actually enjoyed a lot more. The fit at the top of the original Peg Turbo. It just seemed a lot more locked down. It seemed a lot more secure. It used to have kind of this thin wired thing that came through the mid section of the shoe, and it just did feel a lot more comfortable. Whereas this new material here, I'm not as big a fan of it, but in terms of fit, it's still fine and just fits absolutely perfectly. Same goes for the Tempo Next Percent. Really, they fit true to size for me, and they're very comfortable overall. I like the upper. It feels light but also comfortable. So yeah, both shoes should fit fine, true to size.
So we'll start with the Peg Turbo when it comes to running impressions. Now, the first Peg Turbo was one of my favourite ever running shoes. I adored it. I took it everywhere. It was like my do-it-all shoe. If I was going for a holiday or even a trip to do a race, it would be the one shoe I'd take with me to do all my sessions and run races in if needs be. It was quick, it was comfortable, and this is much the same. Like, I think this does feel slightly firmer and kind of more racy to me, but it's still very comfortable. You can do all your running in it. You can still kick up the pace in it. It's a really lovable shoe, the Pegasus Turbo is how I view it. Like, it's something that I just adored using. One of the few shoes I've ever run into the ground, because obviously I get so many to test, but it just stayed in my rotation for a long, long time. And yeah, it's just a fantastic all-round shoe. You can race in it, you can run easy in it, you can do your sessions in it, and it lasts a long time. In fact, the first shoe I think I only stopped using because I stepped on the spike here to take it off and ripped the midsole in half, which was stupid, but at the same time the spike's a bit stupid, so I think the blame is kind of equally to blame with me and Nike. Now, the Zoom Tempo Next Percent is kind of the opposite of this. It's not a lovable shoe, and it's not a very versatile shoe. I don't think it's an odd shoe. You do get the kind of mixture of stuff going on underfoot as you run. It kind of really feels a bit odd, and it's very loud. It's like it's got a big slap to it when you're running in it. However, it does feel absolutely fantastic when you're doing fast running, and I think it's definitely out and out quicker than the Peg Turbo for me. Like, when I've done easy runs in this, I haven't liked the feel. I think it's just a bit clumpy, it feels heavy, it doesn't feel like a great shoe. But when you run fast in it, the weight just disappears. You really get the response of the different foams and the Air Zoom pods. The plate's probably helping a bit there as well, but it really pops off the forefoot. It's straight up the fastest of these fast training shoes that have come out this year. It's even quicker than the Endorphin Speed and the Hyperion Tempo for me, even though those are both pretty much versatile shoes. For just pure pace, for a fast training shoe, I think it really does nail it. So I've done track sessions. The first track run I did, I got it and took it straight to the track. I did a session doing 2K reps followed by 400 meter reps. And I was kind of just doing the 400 meters in about 75 seconds was kind of the plan there. But by the end, I think I ran the last one in 60 seconds. I just felt so fresh and good at the end of the session. And I do think the shoes helped there. I did another interval session comparing it directly to the Endorphin Speed. And I did kind of the first half of the Endorphin Speed, the second half in this, running just kind of 60 seconds on at around my kind of 5K pace. And this really did feel comfortable at those speeds. Again, I was speeding up at the end. I think it protects your legs when you're running hard, and I think it gives you the pace you want in those fast training sessions to kind of feel confident that you're crushing it, basically. So yeah, it really is two different shoes. A kind of unlovable but incredibly fast, odd shoe for your fast training, and just a fantastic all-rounder that I still love to this day.
The first time I tried the original Peg Turbo, I think it was probably the first time I tried a really good shoe. I'd run in quite a lot of shoes up until that point, but when I tried the original Peg Turbo, I was blown away straight away by just how good that shoe felt. And it still is one of my favourite shoes for just all-round training, and I don't think there's many shoes that have come close to it. If you're looking for everything from training to racing. I ran dozens of races in the original Peg Turbo, including I think 3 marathons, and it just has this brilliant ability to feel comfortable, cushioned, but also it feels lightweight. It feels like a race shoe as well, and when you're racing in it, it does offer a lot in terms of speed and that ability to pick up the pace really nicely. So it's just a really great all-round shoe that just delivers so much for across the board in what it does. The Nike Air Zoom Tempo Next Percent is not the same sort of shoe, and I think Nick mentions this. People are probably looking at this shoe as kind of the successor to the Peg Turbo or the Peg Turbo 2, but it really isn't the same sort of shoe. And there are things that I'm not a big fan of about this shoe. I don't think it's anywhere near as comfortable as the Peg Turbo. I don't think it's as versatile in any way, but it does the job that it's named after. It is a tempo shoe. It does a very good job at that. And if you're buying it purely as a tempo shoe for specifically just doing tempo runs, it's a very good shoe. But not many people are going to buy a shoe specifically for tempo runs. And whereas the Nike Peg Turbo, you could do very good tempo runs in it, you could also do a lot of other stuff in it as well. Whereas this, you can't do long, slow runs and in a comfortable way. I've done a 10k race in these, and it just didn't feel. It felt a bit too heavy. It felt a little bit too cumbersome, and I didn't really enjoy racing it. It was fast, but it just didn't feel comfortable doing a race in it. And I'd much rather have had on a pair of these or Vaporfly or an Alphafly. In terms of speed, I think they're probably quite similar. The tempo is probably slightly better when you're trying to pick up the pace in a training run, but it doesn't really have that kind of lightweight, comfortable feel that the Peg Turbo has. So it's not as enjoyable to run in over long distances or shorter distances. But it is probably more conducive to fast training. But you wouldn't use this all the time as a training shoe. I also found that the Peg Turbo it feels a lot more stable, which probably lends itself well to the fact that it is so versatile. Whereas the kind of stack on the tempo, it's quite high, and it does, for me, did feel a bit wobbly. It gives you a bit more bounce, but it just doesn't feel as kind of secure and locked down to the ground as the Peg Turbo. I won't talk too much about the slapping that you get from the tempo, but when I've looked at a lot of reviews and I've read a lot of what people said, and some people have kind of said, well, it doesn't really make a specifically loud slapping noise as you're running, and so I did assume that I was probably going over the top when I heard that and thinking, oh, it's actually not as bad as I thought. But having tested these two side by side for a few days, it is quite loud, and I don't know if that's specifically to do with certain running style. I mean, I do tend to hit the floor a bit with my forefoot when I run, but it just seems a lot more noticeable when wearing the shoe.
So it comes to the verdict. I do think these are very different shoes. Like, obviously, if you are thinking that the Pegasus Turbo was Nike's fast training shoe, and now the Zoom Tempo Next Percent is Nike's fast training shoe, you're just going to move on to this one. You're going to be disappointed. I think this is a very different shoe in what it offers. Both are good for fast training, but this offers so much more in terms of versatility, comfort, looking a bit less weird. And you definitely enjoy easy runs in this, long runs in this, whereas it hasn't always been the case in this shoe. However, if you are looking for a fast trainer and you have options between the two, you've already got your racer sorted, you maybe have an easy run easy run shoe in your rotation. This is faster, I do think. However, I think a shoe will work for most people. You might want to try before you buy, if you possibly can, with a shoe, or maybe get it on one of those things where you can send it back or if you don't like it. I'm not sure it'll work for everyone. It's quite a weird shoe, but I do think if you're running fast training sessions in this shoe, you probably are going to enjoy it. Just don't entirely let your impressions be swayed by how it feels on easy runs, would be what I'd say about that, because it's not great. And put headphones in because it's very loud. What I would say is, if you're looking for a shoe like this when it gets discontinued and you can't find it in sales anymore, I do think the Endorphin Speed is a closer match to the Pegasus Turbo than the actual shoe within Nike's line. So that's designed to be a fast trainer, but I'm using the Endorphin Speed for all my training miles at the moment, really. It's really nice on easy runs. It's great for fast runs. You could definitely race in it. It's a kind of shoe like this that I'd pack in my suitcase to have as the only shoe I take with me on a holiday, so I could do all my runs in it, kind of thing. I wouldn't do that with this. I wouldn't want to be plugging around my easy miles in this shoe. So yeah, there is that option. The Endorphin Speed might be a more natural successor in a way to the Pegasus Turbo if Nike completely discontinues this and you can't get it anymore, which I hope they don't, because I do think this is a shoe that will work kind of for more people as kind of a single option if you only buy kind of one shoe, whereas this I think really needs to fit in a rotation as a fast trainer, for which purpose it's really, really excellent in my view, but it's still weird and you might want to try it just to make sure you don't hate it.
Overall, it's actually a very difficult comparison to do between the two shoes. I think there's a lot of people out there that are probably comparing these shoes, thinking that they're probably quite similar. They're really not. They're a very different type of shoe, and we've had a lot of comments from people about the Tempo, where we were talking about it being a very specific shoe for tempo runs, and that's fine, but not many people buy specific shoes for tempo runs. So if you are looking for an all-round shoe like the Peg Turbo is, this probably isn't going to do it. If you're looking for a specific tempo running shoe, this is great, and as you guess from the name, it does the job. It does the job very well, actually. However, if you're buying these and you want to use them for racing or you want to use them for longer training runs, they're not in the same league as this when it comes to that versatility. And you do definitely feel that straight away as you start running in these in comparison to running in these. I would really have liked to have seen a new version of the Peg Turbo, because for me it is by far one of the best, most versatile running shoes of the past few years. And I've never had any issues with it at all. Durability, comfort, versatility. It's just one of those shoes that you just go to time and time again. We have lots of running shoes at the Run Testers, and I still go back to this constantly to run them. The Tempo Next Percent, granted I haven't done anywhere near as many miles as I've done in the Peg Turbo 1 and the Peg Turbo 2, but I'm not reaching for it for many runs at the moment. I've used it for a couple of track sessions, and I think that's probably where I'm going to keep using it when I'm taking it out of the cupboard. But it just isn't as versatile a shoe, so it just seems like if this shoe disappears, that there's going to be a hole in the Nike armory. So this isn't a replacement for this shoe. And to be honest, I don't think there really is a shoe in Nike's armory that does compare with this shoe. This actually, the Tempo Next Percent, I would say it's very similar to the Zoomfly or Zoomfly 3, just because of how it feels and where it kind of works, that kind of hardness, the responsiveness of it delivers a very similar experience to the Zoomfly, whereas this is just a great all-rounder, and I don't think there's another shoe that Nike have that delivers anywhere near what this does. That's it from us. Thanks for watching our guide to the Nike Pegasus Turbo and the Nike Air Zoom Tempo Next Percent. Don't forget to like, subscribe and click the little bell icon. Look at all the other videos that we've got on the channel, including the latest watches and headphones to make the running that you're doing just a little bit more enjoyable. Catch you later, guys.